So we got our coffee. Are you there? Are you coming? I like Mr. Rogers putting on my jacket. And I'm still offline according to this thing. Well, it doesn't seem to be live today. So I'll give it a refresh, see if it works. So if you're out there, say hello, because, I have challenges here. Looks like I'm up and running now. Now I've got all my equipment going. Look a little tan today. Looks like I'm up and I was out in the woods last night, but there isn't much sun to get a suntan with. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Okay, let's get over to Tom Fishburne. Okay, and here we go. Happy Thursday, right? Yeah, it's not Thursday. Oh, Tuesday. Targeted advertising and the end of third-party cookies. Yeah, we heard that before. But I think this is a really good article, so I have to give Tom credit for this one. How are we going to target relevant ads after cookies go away and we can no longer rely on the sketchy third-party data none of us trusts? Okay, and I've been telling you this for years. I'm a guy who gets his hands dirty. If I had a nickel for every August 32nd in a data set, data is refuse. And my book is on one side or the other. But anyway, my book is called Spinning Straw into Gold. And the title came from the fact that straw is a hygiene product. It's not hay. It's not something you feed to animals. It's something that you put under animals to catch the stuff that comes out of the animals. That's what data is. And, we came to that conclusion about as soon as we started trying to work with it. So a couple of years ago, MIT and a couple other people studied the accuracy of third-party data that is regularly collected, okay, and sold by data brokers as the foundation of programmatic advertising. They looked at some of the most common data points in business to consumer, including age and gender. Then they checked the accuracy. Gender was only 50% accurate, and it was the most accurate data point. It went downhill from there, right? Now, the conclusion or the extrapolation of that is really good, okay? But if we can't get gender right 50% of the time, which means a coin flip would be just as good as all the third-party data you've been buying, how good do you think we are at identifying IT decision makers or airplane procurement specialists? I would guess the accuracy is below 10%. Yes, probably way below that. Okay? Tactics like personalization are based on a very naive assumption. An assumption that the data is all good, and the data is not all good. As we've seen, the data is mostly bad. The more hands the data passes through, if you're buying data from somebody who's buying data, and everybody does, okay? I know Mark Graham, for example. He knows the guys behind the guys behind the guys, and even so, you find dead people from 20 years ago and stuff. If you think the voter rolls are bad, mailing lists are bad, and third-party data is way worse because there's not even an address to hang things on. Okay? If the vendor can't explain to you in a single sentence where the data comes from, I think it's a red flag. Well, even worse than that, I get these people connecting with me on LinkedIn, and they'll tell me, what is your list source for XYZ, whatever it is? And I'll say, what's your data source for your list of XYZ? And they'll say, we are the number one list company in the world. Never mind, I've never heard of it. And they claim that they have all fancy cleaned up data. Oh, here's some other things. Yeah, that one's a scary one. But this one I kind of like. Bad personalization is worse than no personalization. This brand newsletter just called me first name instead of Virginia. And then it says macchiato for vagina. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at in marketing. And that's why I always suggest that a good offer beats creepy personalization. Okay, now one of the great pioneers in database Kate Kestnbaum passed away recently, October 28th. And I thought Kate was Bob's daughter. She always looked way better than Bob. Bob died in 2001, and Kate took over, and I thought it was his daughter. I always thought it was his daughter. Yeah, that's something. So maybe she was a little younger than Bob. But anyway, um, somebody credited them with developing customer lifetime value, but I'm pretty sure Martin Baer is the one who developed it at Old American. Martin and I were friends also. So the Kestnbaums not only were, good competitors and provided a foundation for what I ended up doing with computers and pioneering computers in marketing, but they gave me something to look at. But also Rick Cortu was a pioneer in modeling, and he worked for Bob and Kate. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. You know what they say, if you don't go to your friend's funeral, they won't come to yours. How direct mail innovation started my stone business. Okay, Hunter Bliss had an article about stone paper, which I really didn't know anything about. And so I reached out to Hunter, and he actually sent me some samples. And so let's turn the camera back to me. And I always have trouble with this camera. But this is a book printed on stone paper in Australia. Okay, it's an odd book about a jungle job service. But anyway, and he sent one of his like patented or whatever origami envelopes, and in the envelope actually there's a little set of stone paper, and again I don't think you can see this, but they're stone paper, kind of like you'd make a postcard out of them. Okay, and just in case you don't know what stone paper is, according to Wikipedia, it's called bioplastic paper. I understand it was invented in about 1989 in China. And it's made from calcium carbonate, I think. But anyway, it's like minerals that are then held together with plastic. And it has some advantages. Here's some wrapping paper on it, very thin. It has some advantages. One is because it's not cellulose, you don't have to coat over the absorbing wood, and this is printed on it. It's very, very nice. Very sort of a soft feel. It feels like coated stock is what it feels like, but it's not. Okay, it just comes that way. And some things work well with it, some don't. Heat, laser printed, where they go through a heater, that can melt the surface. But it's photo degradable if you let it out in the sun. It has a texture somewhat like the outer membrane of a boiled egg. Nah, I wouldn't say that's true. It's much softer than that, not shiny at all. They're compatible with inkjet or solid ink printers. I saw another article saying that stone paper might replace a lot of inkjet papers, and so it's not being produced very much, but I think that it's going to definitely have a place. It doesn't use bleaches because it uses the calcium mineral, which is basically very, very white, and then high density polyethylene, okay, resin to make it work. So I was intrigued by it. It makes a good book. This was especially kind of nice because it feels kind of like plastic coated. So if you know how some children's books are more durable, they're harder to tear, kind of a Tyvek. This has kind of a softer, less crinkly feel than Tyvek. So it'll definitely have a place. Okay, this was an article I had high hopes for. It was about a printing company from PI World, founded in 1956, called TC Delivers. And they were in Pennsylvania, but they moved to Florida. And they were founded in part by the legendary Elliot Ness, who was the subject of the Untouchables TV series, an FBI, I believe he was an FBI agent. Anyway, So it goes on about how they've switched gears. They went from being a coupon book company. Interestingly, I helped Deluxe Check launch a coupon book maybe after they transitioned out of this in the 80s, because it would have been the 80s, uh, to collect rent with. And we raised the response rate 20% by just changing a few words and making some things bigger. Anyway, but they got out of that in the 80s. They were the third largest in the world, and changed into an automated mailing company. And in the 90s, they became one of the largest processors of mail in the country. But now they're going with more digital presses. They believe that clients are getting much smarter about their marketing. Targeted marketing, in particular, has been a major component of the mail campaigns. They also print ballots. Anyway, it was an interesting progression of how a printing company changes as the times change, and it sounds like they've done a pretty good job of it. It's a very, very long article, so we're not going to read it to you, but I will have it up in the show notes. Oh, I'm talking about it here and highlighting things and you not seeing any of it. That's okay. It's in the show notes. So if you go over to wdma.org, in a few minutes it'll be up there and you can read the whole thing. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. Comment. Always like the comments because they're worth 20 likes. So if you want to be a worthwhile person, make a comment.